Welcome all to the Thursday Morning Glory Group. My name is Andrew Landy. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work a lot with trauma and loss survivors, and here this afternoon with our founder and co-facilitator, Alexi.
Hi guys.
And we'll begin as we usually do by going around introducing ourselves, telling us who we are, who we lost, and when we lost them, and then we will circle back for a more in-depth conversation. Tom, would you like to start things off?
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everybody. My name is Tom. I lost my girlfriend, Cynthia Della Paul, to suicide March 9th of 2019. Oh, I'll pass the mic to Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike. I lost my dad, Martin, to suicide in May 2019, and I'll pass the mic to Alexi.
Hi guys. I'm your founder, Alexi Archer. I lost my father, Jeremy, to suicide April 26th, 2017. So, the topic I wanted to talk about today is letting love back into the void left behind after a suicide death. Oftentimes I hear people talking about grieving forever and the pain of that loss being so intense that they block off a part of themselves and don't want to allow more love in because of the pain was so intense when they lost their loved one. But what I have found is that if you do the work and you learn how to grieve, all the tips and tricks that you get to put in your little toolbox, that what it can do is allow you to let more love into your life without fear that you're not going to be able to deal with the pain. It gives us a cape, if you will, to where we can deal with anything. Because grief is one of our greatest teachers in this life, because it teaches us how to move with the ebb and flow of change. So if you get really good at grieving, since death is one of the worst changes that a human can experience, especially a suicide death, then that would make it easier to deal with change. And another example of change would be like a breakup, for example. So I was sharing with the group earlier today that I feel prepared, I feel open to let intense love to come back into my heart because I know at the end of the day that I would be able to deal with the pain of that heartbreak should that occur. So, what do you guys think about that?
I agree. I think that initially, and by initially, I mean the first 5 years after my dad died, that wasn't the case. And that breakups were definitely harder. Um, and then, but yeah, I think this whole process has, like, I'm on that path that you're on of it becoming easier to deal with other types of loss. But yeah, right off the bat, it was way worse.
Yeah. And so, what we're talking about ultimately is resilience.
Hmm.
For those of you who don't know, I got the Resilience Award from Promise to Live, which I think is quite fitting, actually. And the word resilience is the ability to mentally or emotionally cope with crisis or return to pre-crisis status quickly. How interesting is that? What I would also add to that is to elevate to post-crisis status even quicker, right? We don't talk about post-crisis status. It's like everything in the wake of something horrible must just be terrible, but that's not true. It's the opposite. It goes on to say it involves adapting to life's misfortunes, trauma, or stress through flexibility and strength. It applies to both physical recovery, bouncing back from illness, and psychological adaptation. I love this. I love this word so much, and you guys are so resilient. And what's important to me about that is that we are creating a battle lion of suicide loss survivors, of grief warriors, so that we can create change in the world by being living examples of what resilience actually looks like. And it can come in different forms. We were talking about like love relationships and breakups earlier, but it can happen in so many other different ways. Another example would be, I suppose, you know, like dealing with my mom's, Alzheimer's, and like how I have learned so much from losing my father that that's giving me more power in order to deal with her loss, or my grandmother, being by her bedside and being able to hold space for her. And that was because I lost Jeremy in such a shocking, sudden way that the fact that I got 5 days in hospice with Panima was like this crazy blessing that I don't know if I would have really been able to see had I not lost Jeremy shockingly. Does anybody else have like examples of how like going through this type of loss can give you resilience in your life?
I don't know if this relates to what you've said, Alexi, but, and I mentioned this our last group, um, losing Cynthia, um, even though I had lost both my parents prior to losing Cynthia, I didn't experience the depth of grief that I felt losing Cindy. And after I lost Cynthia and went through all that grief and started thinking about what loving somebody intensely entails, it entails they're going to lose you or you're going to lose them one way or another, in death or by some other circumstance. And when it suddenly dawned on me that loving somebody intensely was going to equal the intense grief of loss, I had this realization I would go through the whole thing all over again. If I got to spend 20 years with Cindy once again, I would experience the whole thing just to be with her. So I do feel that it has developed maybe not a resilience, but an acknowledgement that loss is inevitable, and I'm more prepared for it now.
Absolutely. I love what you shared. And that is also a tent pole of Morning Glory Club, which is gratitude.
Mm.
You have found a way to be so grateful for the life that you shared that it overshadows that horrible moment moment of losing her and the experience of that loss and the pain associated with it. And I think that that's returning to love, which is the origination of why we had the pain in the first place. If you didn't love her so much, you wouldn't have experienced so much pain. And it's like you had to have the pain because that was what happened, unfortunately. But
Exactly.
you can't like now inextricably be like, okay, well, I wish I had never had this person for all this time in the wake of this horrible, horrific loss. I think it's perspective, and that's beautiful. Like with my dad, I wouldn't trade the 33 years that I had with him to just not deal with his suicide. Like that's wild. Can't do that.
You know, Joe Biden said recently in regard to losing his son to cancer. Well, he went through a lot of different loss. He lost loved ones to car accidents, cancer, and other losses. And he was speaking to an audience, and he said, "I can promise you that even with the greatest loss of your life, there will come a time when thinking about them will not bring a tear to your eye, it'll bring a smile to your lips."
Hmm.
And I really, that sounded so right to me, because whenever I think of Cindy, there might be a little touch of melancholy, but mostly right now, I just go, thank you, God. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so what we're talking about is that amount of time, right? Like Mikey talks about being in conventional therapy for 5 years versus being in morning glory for 6 months, right? Like, what is the length of time going to take between the death and loss to us not necessarily, and it's okay to have tears, we're not shunning tears anyway, but to be able to talk about our loved one with lightness in our heart, you know? And I think shortening that time is what I'd like to see for more people who are bereaved. It's interesting, Mikey. There's a quote here that they use examples of resilience. He showed resilience by focusing on solutions rather than becoming overwhelmed by anxiety. That made me think of you because, like myself, I deal with quite a bit of anxiety. I wonder if there's a way for us to tether resilience, the work that we're doing in suicide loss, and being solution oriented by controlling what we can control and not, and like tricking ourselves mentally into not feeling anxious about the things that we can't. Does that seem like there's any gem in there, possibly? Like, would having a conversation with yourself, and I know you've already started doing this a lot, but I wonder if that framing of like feeling anxious about something being like, I cannot control this thing that I'm feeling anxious about. Let me focus on what I can control. And I wonder if maybe that can help to start like, you know, cutting off some of these things that are just like upsetting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the basis of all the content that we've been working through recently. I don't think I've read it or heard it said in that way. So yeah, that's something I can play with. I should write that down.
Yeah, write that down because it's so interesting, and I'm sure Andrew can attest to this too. Like, we can listen to something many, many, many times, but sometimes somebody says it in just that way that you needed to hear it so that you actually hear it. You know, like listening is one thing, but like hearing something and it like really genuinely resonating. And I think that's also why group has been so important for me because it's like it gives us the opportunity to like really like hone in and discuss these topics so that like maybe I've listened to them, but I really like heard it.
That's brilliant, Alexi, the distinction you're um, emphasizing there. That's really important.
Yeah,
And
I had a moment like that. I've been listening to the same Joe Dispenza um compilation of being grateful and thankful for the every day for the past 2 months. And on Sunday, I listened to it, and there was one line that he said that was like, "Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about now." Whereas like before, it was just
Mm.
seemed like another sentence.
yeah, they say it takes something like 3 times to like of reading something before like it really sticks in your mind.
Yeah, yeah, sink in and
I've been doing this technique of listening to an audiobook and reading it at the same time. That's been helpful. Were you going to say something, Tommy?
Um, Actually, I wanted to return to a thought that I was about the idea of loss because Andrew, I know that how close you are to both of your parents, and you've been dealing with a lot of, physical challenges that they've both been having. And all of it is an indication of their aging and the inevitability of the inevitable. And I think about you a lot because of just how close you are to them. And I just want to say that I have great empathy for what you're going through because you can kind of see the inevitable up ahead, but you don't want to focus on it. You want to focus on the enjoyment of life that they can experience. But it's a little bit of a dichotomy of thought. So I just want to say that I have a lot of empathy and thoughts about what you're dealing with, Andrew.
Well, I thank you for that, Tom. And I know that, you've gone through it, particularly with, your mom. And, hearing that from somebody that has, gone through the, complete experience, if you will, of, these sort of final years, I suppose, and then into the actual grief and loss. And yeah, I can really relate to what you're expressing with, this sort of juxtaposition or, dichotomy of trying to be present and really embrace and enjoy these moments together. But
Yeah,
how challenging that is, at least for me, because I start, going down the path of, okay, these are going to be few and far between these moments. And, like time I spend with my mom in Ireland, I'm like, this may be the last summer we're here together. And I start to have a very heavy heart about it. And rather than, being so grateful for the opportunity, I start to feel the loss. And it's a challenge to kind of find a balance and, to be
truly.
able to enjoy the moment. But, I'm a sensitive person and I tend to, get into these darker places of, okay, this is, there are not going to be too many of these left. And I'm already noticing, my mom, not reacting the same way or not being as present herself and start to mourn the losses, even though she's here, but she's not the same woman she was 5 years ago.
I'm so familiar with what you're saying.
So it's yeah, it's a challenging sort of space to be in.
Truly is.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I almost would want to encourage you to maybe start like a really diligent like gratitude practice, like find five things or three things and like write it down about like gratitudes about this time that you get to have with them.
Yeah,
'Cause like you were just saying that she's so different now than she was 5 years ago, and like time just flies by, it goes by in like a flash,
yeah.
and like I think the more that we experience gratitude, the easier it is to fend off those negative feelings of, doom and gloom.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Alexi, and I'm not always one to proactively engage in that, but I have in the past, and I do, acknowledge the benefits of gratitude and connecting with, some of the wonderful things that are there. And, they, at least in my case, often get lost or convoluted because I start, going down. I don't want to say negative, but, realistic, sort of responses that, I mean, I think in some ways to say to myself that, and I'm not suggesting that you're doing this or suggesting that I do this, but to not really realize that, these are limited times, I mean, to think that, okay, I'm going to have these, for a, indefinite period. And these, moments together with my mom or my dad. And, not really realizing that there's going to be an end to that, that, I'm fooling myself. But gratitudes can come in different ways and also don't need to be always connected to them. That, I can be grateful that, I have my health and that, I have a beautiful home that is a sanctuary to me. And, I have my dogs, although I can get on negative paths with that, and think that, okay, well, I've never really loved a dog like I love my Bran. And, I worry about losing him. And I mean, I've lost a lot of dogs that have been hard losses for me and dogs that I've loved greatly, but I've experienced a very different relationship with my border collie. And I never thought that would happen. I thought I was like a German Shepherd enthusiast and that, German Shepherd was my breed. And I, kind of open up to this opportunity with a different breed that I had an interest in with the Border Collies. And it's proven to be, just a very different experience that I may not have had if I was so, committed to German Shepherds and German Shepherds only.
That's great. I like the idea that happiness can come at us from unexpected directions.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And, I mean, he came at a time too when I was, grieving the loss of a engagement. And, Bran was actually really challenging as a puppy. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stick it out with him. I had thoughts of rehoming him when he was a puppy, and I am so glad I never went through with that because he's turned out, at least for me, to be such a special gift.
Well, at least you didn't take him out back and shoot him like Christy Nome.
Right. Oh boy.
So, yeah, I do think that unless we grow up in a very, in a household where everybody's like, think positive and like being positive is, I think it's pretty rare to just automatically be a positive person. I think most people have done quite a bit of work to reprogram their minds. It's so interesting. My friend was telling me about a girlfriend that she has who's just like always expects that her boyfriend or husband is always doing the right thing. He's always looking out for their best interest. And she
Mm,
was just telling me about like the kind of level of levity that her friend has in this relationship. She's a relationship coach herself. And so I've really been thinking to myself, gosh, like I really aspire to be that way. I've already been working a lot about that the universe is conspiring for my benefit. Like, why shouldn't my loved ones also be doing that? So, um, I am really working on training myself to just assume that my partner is looking in the best. Like once you kind of create like security and safety in a dynamic, and I mean, in your relationship with your parents, obviously you feel very secure and safe with them. I don't know, maybe just us turning into a space of like trusting that everything is happening for us, not to us, is maybe going to create an environment in our lives to where we can have more joy and fulfillment. it's a trick. I do think that it's like you get trained, you become a certain way over time, and to do anything different would take concerted effort. I mean, Mike and I have been like working on this too, and it's something that like I had to be like, all right, I'm going to think positive. Okay, cool. That's a great notion. How? And it's like practicing it just like anything else. And like being like catching yourself when you think something negative and be like, okay, wait a second. This is not in my best interest. This is not in the best interest of everyone involved. Like, how do I reframe this? Um, so catching the negative thoughts, practicing gratitude, writing down gratitudes, looking for things to be positive and I mean, listen, if at the end of the day we can find the gems, because we are all gem diggers,
That's
digging for
right.
gems in the darkness, right? If we are gem diggers, and if we can find the gem in death, in a suicide death, or in loss, in aging, and of our parents aging, of like, all these things, then that means we can do it in every area of our lives, right?
Hmm.
Lexi, that's a fantastic thing that you've presented because you're talking about the power of our intention and just the distinction you made between thinking things are happening to you or things are happening for you. That's all in your mind. I mean, that's the power of the mind. We get to make life actually what it is to us individually, not in a general sense. So I really love the idea of things happening for you just because you decide it's so. I think that's incredible.
And I've really, really, really seen like people who live their lives that way and they make that lifestyle change. I mean, Tom, you're a great example. I feel like you do this a lot. I think sometimes, you know, we bring it up in group and you kind of are reflective about it. And then once you kind of like make that transition, then you make that transition, like with the road rage stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think you get there, like I think you get there. I think what could also be powerful is, we all just make the decision, and we could even make a pact today that we're going to all try to, if and we're going to all agree that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And if that is the case, then we are going to look for the gem in every dark situation that we have.
That's incredible. I love that.
Because like I was going to say, I think people who live that way, like I can see their lives are like they're living in another way. There are things that they want to manifest in their lives, and I know that word manifestation is so, but like what about like our median like happiness and joy levels? Like how do we start like just cruising? And Mike, I think you're there. Like I feel like you're just kind of cruising at a different kind of like altitude.
I'm getting there. I mean, like something, we've been talking and working a lot on threat monitoring.
Hmm.
Yeah. And like my boss, he just messaged me and he said, "What's up, Mike? Let me know when you got a minute to chat. Just want to check in on you." That's triggering for me. Even though like I might have run into poison oak yesterday, and so I've like broke out in hives and submitted a safety report, and that's probably what he wants to talk about, is because I he's my manager, so I have to let him know that happened, and then this email gets sent out, and it's sent out to like 50 people that are like higher ups in my company, and then yeah, but so like that's what he wants to talk about, probably, but it's just triggering to receive messages like that. So that's what we've been working on a lot recently. But otherwise, yeah, I feel like I've been definitely at a different level. Like yesterday, we had a whole bunch of um at work. We had a whole bunch of like we thought we were going to be done at 1 p.m. We didn't end up getting done until 4:30 p.m. and just like a whole bunch of um not they didn't go wrong, just unexpected events. And one of my coworkers, like she loves drama and she loves to like point out when things are going wrong. But I was like, and so she had a lot to complain about yesterday, but I was feeling like, oh, I get to drive around and be outside today in the sun. And honestly, this is going as long as my regular workday. So, and I'm getting paid and I have a stable job. And um, I'm like, I'm happy I have this job. And so it's also becoming easier for me to recognize negativity in others now that I'm becoming less negative, which is interesting. Um, yeah, it's easy to get wrapped up in negativity at work. Like, I feel like a lot of people are good at pointing out when things are going wrong, but it's like also none of this is that big of a deal. And like how much energy are we gonna like something happened last week and it was so insignificant and like the same coworker was like ready to blow a fuse and I was like, what is it worth that level of energy? No.
Mm.
I heard somebody, I went to this philosophy lecture on Friday, and they said, you can catch a mood like you can catch a cold.
Yeah.
I don't believe in catching colds, so that was the trade-off. But if you could catch a cold, um, in the same manner that, or if you could catch a mood in the same manner that you could hypothetically catch a cold, then we have to be really aware of who we have around us. And if we don't get to choose, like in this situation with this girl, how do we get to affect their energy? Because I feel like, oh, you can catch a mood, like it kind of is giving your power away a lot, but like, what can we sort of do to cultivate new energy, right? Aside from just getting away from that person. But I do think, though, it is interesting how you start to become more sensitive to other people's energy. And I think it's a good thing because that means you're operating at a different frequency. So then you're like, oh, why would you be complaining about us getting to drive around and be in the sun all day? Like, that's just so. So maybe there's some ways in which um, your energy also can be caught too. You know what I mean? It goes two ways. You could catch her bad energy, or she could maybe catch your good energy, right?
Hmm. Yeah. I think right now I'm still in like this transformative phase
Yeah.
where it's still very like I had a bad day on Sunday and it could have been in my head a very good day, but I'm like on this, tightrope of getting to like the next level of positivity. And so I'm just kind of I'm more focused on maintaining my state than impacting other states. And I
I
think,
hear you.
yeah, I think I think that's a place I need to be for a while is to like cement all the new thought processes in place. Um,
Yeah. I love that. It's a lot. It's a lot to bring some to do the work on yourself and then to like start bringing other people along, you know? That's fine. Where you're at is great. Um, I don't know. I had this thought of like, be like, oh wow, look at that beautiful cloud up there. You know what I mean? like just like trick people into like seeing the beauty in life.
Yeah.
But again, not your job. Um, so does anybody else have any other like thoughts, feelings, ideas?
Well, the reason I'm so responsive to making up your mind about whether things are happening to you or for you is because it relates to my statement that I would go through everything, every grief that I went through with Cindy if I got to be with her, because now I recognize the entire thing is for me, including her passing. Somehow it's all in a bundle of a gift. That's why I get to say I would go through it all again, because the whole thing is a gift. Did her suicide happen to me or did it happen for me? That's almost the ultimate decision that I can make in life.
Oh,
And I'm choosing to say it happened for me.
wow, Tommy. Beautiful, beautiful. I just also came across as an addendum to this definition of resilience, key aspects of developing resilience. One, cultivation. It is not a fixed trait, but a set of skills, i.e., optimism, emotional regulation, and support systems that can be learned and developed. It's exactly what we just talked about.
Hmm,
Two, it is action oriented. Resilient people actively cope with stress rather than just endure it,
that's great.
right?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, I'm gonna bear down and just deal with, you know what I mean? They're the us resilient people, we actively cope with stress by looking for solutions. Okay. And then third is perspective, maintaining a positive outlook and finding purpose in life's challenges.
Hmm.
That's amazing, guys. Isn't it?
I, I really like how you and Mike both look up definitions to make it clear. That really helps me.
I think this is it turned out to be an amazing conversation. I loved today's talk,
Me
Yeah.
too.
right?
Yeah.
So I want everybody to tell me one way in which they are going to be more resilient this week. I'm
I'll
looking at
go
you.
first.
Yes.
uh, Everything that's going to happen this week or in the future will be happening for me.
Ooh,
Hmm.
I love that. I want to steal it.
You did. You said it.
More resilient.
Well, I think for me, reconnecting with gratitudes is what I'd like to focus on.
That's amazing, Andrew. I love that. We could do the same gratitude exercise that we do at the end of group, which
Yeah.
we're gonna still do today, but like actually writing it down and like feeling, just like feel that feeling and just try to carry it with you throughout the day. And when something annoying happens, be like, okay, how is this also happening for me? You know, how is this also like a part of making my life better in some weird, twisted way? We can find it. Gem diggers, we are gem diggers.
We are gym
Mine,
diggers.
mine is going to be not jumping to the worst conclusion
Mm,
when something unexpected happens.
It's a good one.
yeah.
I love that.
Or if I jump to the worst conclusion, then, quickly addressing that that is the most unlikely outcome.
And trusting yourself that
Yes.
in the worst case scenario, you have every tool that you need to handle it.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to go back to something Carrie gave me. She said decisions are freedom. And the decision that something is happening for you as opposed to you is like the ultimate decision of freedom. And I'm going to apply that to any driver that I find a problem with. I'm going to decide it's happening for me, not to me.
I love that.
Me too.
And Tom, you could still raise a middle finger.
There are appropriate circumstances. I'll keep that in mind, Andrew. That's
I am
right. I we This decision cannot become obsequious in and of itself. No.
I am going to step up me taking it easy on myself and just trusting that I am doing everything that I need. Sometimes I look at my list of things and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing this. I haven't done enough of that. Blah. And I am going to practice being grateful for the person that I am today, just the way that I am. And that, like, I don't need to do anything or be anything to be more loved. I deserve all the love in the world just the way that I am. Okay.
Certainly do.
You.
Now we're gonna go around. Thank you. I love you, boys. They're gonna go back around, and everybody's gonna tell me something that they're grateful for, the reason why, and say thank you 3 times. But even try to feel beyond grateful if you can. Tell me you like that one.
Well, that your enthusiasm is contagious, and you had brought up what could possibly be contagious moods,
Yes,
right?
I'm giving you guys my good mood to take with you for the
And
rest of the day.
I think I just caught it.
Yes, that's what I was trying to do.
Look, I wish there were more people here because I want to start off the thank yous by saying thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you, but particularly to you, Alexi, because you take note of people's dates of loss and names, and you generate all the beautiful responses you all gave me on our morning glory a chat is was instigated by Alexi keeping track of the date of Cynthia's passing. And Alexi, you're so beautiful that you do that for people, letting them know that you
Mhm.
care just the same way you did the very first day I met you. You're so fucking good at caring.
Oh.
Um, and so I want to thank each and every one of you, and you, Alexi, thank you, thank you, thank you for the attention you give me. I'm soaking it up like a sponge.
Oh, Tommy. Thank you. I've not ever been the most organized person, so the fact that I'm somehow able to like somewhat get that together, like I honestly, I'm so happy that that everybody chimed in and was supportive, and that I had it together enough to get that out to you. So, and now we have this remembrance section in the Morning Glory website, which was created so that it would take a little bit of the pressure off of me having to remember, but. I'm so glad that everybody sent you such beautiful messages, and we were all thinking of you and Cynthia that day. So thank you,
So,
thank you, thank you. We love you.
so tender. Thank you. Oh, I'll pass the mic to Andrew.
Thank you, Tom. Um, yeah, I'm feeling grateful for the reminder of gratitudes. And I would not have had that reminder if it weren't for this group. So grateful for this group and to reconnect with gratitudes in my daily life. And I might even pair it with putting it on
Yay!
some Sticky notes and writing it down and have as reminders of so much that I am grateful for in my life, including this group. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will pass the mic to Mike.
Yeah, I'm thankful for Tom today. I, over the past several months, I've been learning from Tom not to react before you listen, which, Tom, I think you're really, really great at listening and not reacting. And there was a period of time, I think end of last year, where it was just me, Alexi, and Tom in group for like a couple consecutive sessions, and
Mhm.
Alexi was sharing her plans, and I was reacting, and Tom was listening, and that helped me become aware. And it's been really helpful in my life outside of this as well to listen more and not react. Both with my roommate, with a couple of my friends, and with Larissa, the girl I'm seeing. It's been really helpful. So thank you, Tom. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.
I have to second that. Andrew, did you go?
I did.
Okay, sorry, sorry,
That's
sorry.
okay.
I was looking at you. Okay.
You have the
Um,
heart stickers.
oh, right, yes. Um, Group is the great reflector. The way that we show up in this microcosm is exactly the way we show up in the world. And it's such a wonderful thing. I think also it being on Zoom, you can see everybody, but you can also see yourself. And there is just so much for us to learn by coming into this microcosm so that when we go out into the microcosm, we're aware of how we're showing up in the world. So thank you for that reminder, Mikey. And I will say that I am so happy and grateful to be here with my boys today. It's such a good reminder for me that in the wake of losing Jeremy to suicide, who was my the day one love of my life, the first man I ever loved, and to be able to be here with you guys and to see all the incredible growth that you've had over these last year for Mike, I guess almost, and 6 years for Andrew and Tommy. And I just am so grateful to be able to be the feminine presence here with you all. So thank you for that beautiful reminder and for doing the work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't forget that even in the darkness of your morning, your lives are glorious.